Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast post-game show. Man, what a game. I think so far in this very early NBA season, that was game 11. Can I say this was the best Detroit Pistons game of the year? It had everything. It had last minute guys not playing, which we'll get into. It had guys in the rotation that didn't step up. Buzzer beaters, fouls, injuries, overtime, theatrics. Man, that was such a entertaining game. I was just like, man, just win this game, just win it. If you guys are brand new here with these post game shows, we go over these quarter notes, and then after we do the quarter notes, look at the box scores. We open up the show to questions, comments, overall thoughts. If you guys just want to leave a comment down in the YouTube chat, you're more than welcome to. We do these Q&As after I'm done kind of rambling, but let's get into today's post game show. Let's start with it, you guys. Like I mentioned at the top of the podcast, a lot of injuries. No Tobias, still dealing with a high right ankle sprain. No Isaiah Stewart, ankle sprain. No Jaden Ivey and Marcus Hasser, obviously. Asar Thompson didn't play today. He was questionable with an ankle sprain. And Karis LeVert was also out with some left knee injury management. He actually said that he's been on a minute restriction lately, which I didn't even know was a thing. That was the first time that I've heard of it. But we were without six rotational guys, right? So you're going up against a Washington Wizards team that is obviously rebuilding, but they still have veterans in CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton. CJ just had a game, scored over 40 tonight. But this game in the first quarter, I was like, okay, Washington is a team that is third in pace in the NBA, but they're one of the worst offensive teams, which you wouldn't think looking at this box score watching the game tonight. And they're one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. They rank like 27th and 28th, respectively. But the Pistons' rim protection just wasn't really there in the first quarter. And obviously, these guys just won in Philly, second night of a back-to-back, and you were very thin in terms of rotation. But the bench unit came in and kind of settled things down a little bit. Paul Reed, Chaz Lanier, shout out to Chaz, man. He actually got more than garbage time today, hit some shots, and I thought he brought good energy, did a pretty good job defending and hitting shots. Cade got two fouls really early on, and CJ just went crazy in this first quarter. And the Pistons only trailed by one. It was 37-36 going into the second quarter. Durant started to look to score more, but it was still a very just sloppy quarter from both sides. There was a lot of turnovers. Both of these teams were struggling to just kind of get stuff set up in the half court initially. But Cade had over 20 points in this first half, and the Pistons had a little bit of a lead. They went into halftime 67-61. Coming out of halftime, this team just looked gassed. They looked really tired. Shots were just flat. It's just a situation where, I think Washington had a little bit more energy, but Washington was hitting their shots. The Pistons weren't in the third quarter, probably their worst shooting quarter in this game. And Washington had a 96-87 lead going into the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter, man, oh my God, my heart, chest pains. I think this game aged me 10 years. Washington had a 16-point lead in this one, believe it or not. Pistons cut it down to 7, and then they keep chipping it away at it. Donis Jenkins hit a 3. Duncan Robinson hit a really big 3. The Cam Whitmore foul, I thought that's when the game was going to be over. Cade goes up for a dunk. Cam Whitmore contested. If you kind of watch the replay, it was just a very bang play. I didn't like that he kind of stood over Cade after he fouled him. I thought if it was just a play on the ball and he walked away, I would have been fine with it. I didn't really like him standing over Cade. I know Durham pushed him. It just makes me think, like, if Stu was healthy, what would have kind of happened? Because that's my mindset, because Stu is the ultimate enforcer and the protector of this team. Cade did leave the game, came back. They were icing and heating his lower back, hit his free throws. Then we're just kind of chipping at this lead. It's like, 5 to 7 points. and we get to the final seconds of this third quarter. Pistons need a three to tie it. Cade finds Donis Jenkins in the corner, ties it. We go into overtime, and Pistons get up to a little lead, but CJ ties it. Duncan Robinson probably hits just the most clutch three in this overtime quarter. Puts the Pistons up three. Then Washington comes back. They score. Duran's tip-in I thought was good. They had to review it. It wasn't. It was goaltending or offensive interference, they called it. But we ice this game. We'll win by 2, 137 to 135. Winning streak is still intact. Cade had a career high. We'll look into the box score, but man, this was not the prettiest game. But I think what I've learned about this team this season and even last season is the obstacles that they can overcome. It just amazes me. And I know this is a full-time Detroit Pistons podcast YouTube channel, but it honestly amazes me just the adversity that this team faces, and they still find ways to win. It's honestly incredible. Like, it made me think of the Detroit Lions last year and all the injuries they had, and they still found a way to win. It's kind of like what's happening with the Detroit Pistons. They've kind of taken that Detroit Lions grit approach and next man out mentality, and they're still finding ways to win without 6 key rotation guys. It was an incredible win. I do want to get into just the box score, and then we'll open up the show to comments and questions with you guys. We'll get into the Q&A segment. Let's look into the box score. If you guys didn't watch this one, we'll go over it. So Duncan Robinson, 38 minutes played. Double figures again, 13 points. 5 out of 11 from the field, 3 out of 9 from 3. He was very impactful in this one. 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Ron Holland, 24 minutes played, 5 minutes, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 out of 4 from the field, 3 out of 3 from the free throw line. He didn't play as much, and I think JB could kind of see that he was a little bit gassed, a little bit tired, and good by him to kind of see that he just maybe wasn't, fully engaged tonight. Jalen Duren, 40 minutes played in this one, 19 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 6 out of 10 from the field, 7 out of 11 from the free throw line. Something to pay attention to on the play where Donis Jenkins shot the ball and tied it. He kind of had a collision with an opposing Washington Wizards player, and he immediately grabbed his ankle. And we all know Jalen Duren has had a lot of ankle injuries throughout his young NBA career with the Pistons. He does wear ankle braces, so it'll be interesting to see what the injury report is for Jalen Duren, because we do play the Chicago Bulls on Wednesday. But he was grabbing kind of like his ankle shin area, so hopefully, maybe it was just a bang play and he can ice it and he's good to go. But something to pay attention to. Javonte Green, I want to give a shout out to Javonte Green, man. 38 minutes played, 11 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks. Those 2 blocks I don't think should go undersold. His 2 blocks were on 3-point attempts. And if you guys play basketball any type of level, blocking someone when they're shooting a 3 is extremely difficult. But man, he just came up huge in this one. So Cade Cunningham, out of 48 minutes played, he played 45 minutes. He had 46 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists, had a triple-double, 5 steals, 2 blocks. You kind of look at the field goals. So 14 out of 45. So he shot 45 shot attempts, had 46 points. 2 out of 11 from 3, 16 out of 18 from the free throw line. He was a plus 10 in this one. Obviously, I think a lot of people will probably nitpick the shots with Cade, but I think what you have to understand is, like, usually Asar Thompson is kind of like a 1A or a 1B option. He can kind of take the pressure off of Cade. Didn't have Asar tonight. Jalen Duren has obviously kind of been that number 2 option, but Cade was kind of forced to have more shots tonight. Obviously, it's a career high 14 out of 45 is a lot, but I mean, you got the win, so I think that's all that really matters. Paul Reed in this one, 13 minutes, off the bench, 8 points, 9 rebounds, 1 block, 4 out of 5 from the field, 0 out of 2 from the free throw line. I'm pretty sure I saw Paul Reed tweet right after the win that he's going to practice free throws. He wasn't happy with himself down the stretch, and he always holds himself accountable, which I love that about Paul Reed. Bobby Klippman got a little bit of time again tonight, 7 minutes, 3 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. I think JB just kind of wanted to roll with Javonte in this one personally. Chaz Lanier, big 27 minutes out of him tonight, 8 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 out of 5 from 3 out of 7 overall. I was really impressed with Chaz Lanier actually, stepping up. He doesn't get routine minutes, and he came out and was just productive. Donis Jenkins, man, the MVP, in my opinion, of this game. He was that option that I think even the broadcast was saying, who is going to step up? Who is going to be the guy to help Cade Cunningham out? In 34 minutes, he had 24 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals, 9 out of 7 from the field, shot 52.9%, 4 out of 6 from 3, and the Pistons needed every one of his 3-point makes and 2 out of 2 from the free throw line. Man, shout out to Donis Jenkins in this one, man. Donis Jenkins looked great. I honestly think that he's too good to be a two-way contract. But, I mean, it's a luxury for the Detroit Pistons right now. They don't have any more roster spots after they did sign Isaac Jones. But Donis Jenkins, man, I think a lot of teams are going to take notice of him. Kid just plays really, really hard. He really does. I think he would be a great backup point guard for the Detroit Pistons. He was doing this as a number 2 scoring option tonight, and he stepped up big time. The Pistons needed every single one of his points to win this one. But, man, what a game by him. I'm really happy for him because, all the time he does spend in the G League, grinding it out. He was their number 1 option. I don't think he's going to be spending too much time with the Motor City Cruise this year. That's just my opinion. But you look at the box score. This one's rough, man. Pistons shot 41% in this one. 13 out of 14 from 3, 31%. Got to the free throw line quite a bit. They made 30 out of 38 of their free throw, so around 78.9%. 63 rebounds in this one, and it was still as close as it was. 28 offensive rebounds by the Detroit Pistons in this one. 27 assists. 16 steals, 5 blocks. This was just a high turnover game for both teams. 20 turnovers for the Wizards, 16 turnovers for the Pistons in this one. Both of these teams were looking out the run. Points in the paint. The Wizards actually outscored the Detroit Pistons in this one, 58-54, which you don't really, fast break points actually got the Pistons and points in the paint. These ESPN things are just really weird to read. But this was just a very sloppy game by both sides in this one, man. But I do want to get into some comments and questions with you guys. But this was just a really fun game. I want to get to Dolly. He does have one of the first comments of our Q&A section. It says, what a game. Green could be the best perimeter blocker in the league. Kudos to Jenkins. Waited patiently for years, and the opportunity came tonight. Worried about Cade burnout. We need him for the playoffs. Honestly, you could kind of see the tired legs a little bit with Cade. He played high minutes tonight. Obviously, he will get a rest day tomorrow. Hopefully, he's good. Hopefully, he doesn't, have anything serious the way he landed on his back. If you guys do remember, last year, he kind of had a similar fall against the Charlotte Hornets where he kind of fell on his tailbone and he was out for a couple of games. Hopefully, it's not that same injury, not the same aggravated injury where he did kind of fall on his lower back. But I agree. Javonte Green was really good on the perimeter defensively, had key blocks. Donis Jenkins, undrafted kid. And I think we all fell in love with him. First summer league game a couple of years ago, and then he's just been grinding for an opportunity, and he stepped up tonight. I think Trajan Langdon and the Detroit Pistons definitely love what they saw in Adonis tonight. I got a comment from Bruce. This was a gusty and a hard fought win, which shows the determination and the will of this team who follows the lead of their superstar, Mr. Smooth Operator Kate Cunningham. Yeah, I mean, when you listen to these players in post game shows, like the togetherness and just their will to win basketball games, like this is a team that wants to win every possible game, and we're coming up on these post game shows, and like a lot of these wins that they've had, they have not been pretty wins. They haven't been, crazy blowouts. Maybe outside the Orlando one, if memory serves correctly. But like they're coming back, they're scrapping back. They were down as much as 16 points in this one to the Wizards, and they came back and forces the overtime to win by two. This is just a team that doesn't quit. They're not going to lay down. If it's down 10, 15, 20, they're still going to try to make this a game down the stretch. And I think that's something that we really haven't seen in previous years with previous Pistons teams. Like if we were down like 8 to 12 points, we would kind of say, yeah, maybe we'll get them tomorrow, or maybe we'll get them next time we play them. Everything had to go right. This team just finds ways to win, and I absolutely love this about JB Bickerstaff and how he's coached and has these guys believing in himself. And that's something that we really haven't had out of a coach in previous years. Monty Williams' year was miserable. Obviously, Dwayne Casey was going through that rebuild. I mean, even the Stan Van Gundy led teams, I mean, they weren't as scrappy as these JB Bickerstaff led teams. Pistons fan 11, do you think Jenkins has the ability to play like this consistently or just a good game? Any reason why we did not put Holland on McCollum instead of watching him look like Kobe Bryant? Okay, couple questions. So let's get to the Jenkins question. Does he have the ability to play like this consistently, or is it just a good game? He's a good player. I don't know if he's going to get you 20 points a game, but I think he's at least an NBA rotational player. I think he's at least a backup point guard option for this team. He's on a two-way. He does, in my opinion, I think I would convert him. And now I know that's easier said than done. We don't have any, available roster spots, and we're extremely injured right now. We just brought back Wendell Moore, and we signed Isaac Jones over the past couple of days. But I do think Donis Jenkins is at least a serviceable rotational guard on this team, and he showed the ability to hit good shots. I just like his scrappiness defensively. And to your second question, why didn't we put Holland on McCollum? I don't really think it mattered who was on CJ. CJ kind of looked like Portland CJ, where he was just hitting his shots, getting to his spots. But we didn't really do the best job of kind of locating him on screens. A lot of times we're kind of late and trying to fight over the top of screens. But CJ is a good player. I know he's on the Wizards right now, and he's on the Pelicans in years past. But CJ can still get you a cool 25 on a nightly basis. He's a really good player. But yeah, CJ was definitely cooking in this one. Had 40 points, and Cade had 46. So, I mean, it was just a battle between those two. With all the injuries, and we still got the W. My goodness, yeah, man, it's honestly crazy if you just kind of look at the injury report. You had like 6 guys out, and you're playing guys that are pretty like end of the bench type of players, and they're still finding ways to scrap and win this one. And I think that's what I love about this team is just the will to not give up, play for the full 48. They're playing until that scoreboard, or the clock says 00. They're not looking up saying 30 seconds per down 8, game's over. Like they're just going to keep playing. And I think that's what a JB Bickerstaff led team is. It's just toughness. It's smash mouth in your face for the full 48. What happened to Asar? Why was he in street clothes? Okay, so intermittent production. So what happened to Asar is last night against Philly, he was guarding Tyrese Maxey, and he twisted his ankle. He actually left the game in the first quarter, did eventually come back, and he was kind of playing on a sprained ankle yesterday, and he didn't play it all today, okay? So that's what happened to Asar. Another sprained ankle. This team has several players right now with sprained ankles. They need to just all wear ankle braces at this point. No more sprained ankles, man. Saw some people kind of have the conversation. It's the low tops. I really don't know, man. Um, I always sprained my ankle playing basketball. Didn't matter whether I had low tops or high tops. I just had really weak ankles. But that's what did happen with this R. What should we do if a big name slash big time players is involved in trade talks with us and needs 1 to 2 young core guys to get it done? So this is definitely a hypothetical question by Anthony. I think it really depends on what the big name player is. And I think it depends what the Pistons could gain from, sending out a core guy. I think if we're just analyzing this team right now through the first 11 games played, I don't really think Trajan in the front office is really looking to make a splash right now. I think they're in evaluation mode, and it does suck that all these injuries are piling up, and you're going to have to play guys that normally wouldn't be in the rotation. Normally, you wouldn't go out and pick up an Isaac Jones on waivers. Normally, you probably wouldn't bring back a Wendell Moore if you didn't have injuries to Tobias, Isaiah Stewart, and Asar Thompson. I think for me personally, I'm gonna hold off on trade just conversations for now, just because I think what I like about this team is they're still young and they're figuring out ways to win. I think what Trajan will probably do is just kind of look where they could possibly upgrade. Um, and if this team is still, a top 3 team, come the deadline, maybe Trajan does kind of make a needle mover trade to kind of, put them in the same conversations with the Clevelands and the Knicks and even the Bucks, because the Bucks are playing really good ball as of late. But I think I'm just going to have to wait and see what does happen. We're only in November. Trading deadline doesn't, I think, officially end until like February-ish. But I'm not really entirely sure like what the Pistons thought process is with just trades. Like, let's relax. Anthony Tolliver fan here. Okay, that's goaded. That's a hell of a pull. Cade is so good. Knock on wood every game that he doesn't get hurt. This team's hustle and does not quit. Love the podcast. Longtime listener, first time commenter. Well, shout out to you, Cam. Hell of a pull, Anthony Tolliver. I haven't heard that name in quite some time. Tolliver effect. But I appreciate you watching this. Appreciate you coming in on this live podcast right now and just kind of dropping a comment. Yeah, hopefully Cade doesn't get hurt. I feel like he's just kind of the engine of this team. But hey, man, absolutely crazy. Right, we are building a nice culture, next man out mentality. Yeah, I mean, like you can't be mad at that with the Pistons, just the way that they've been playing. Um, it's honestly just remarkable the way that they're able to just fight. Um, Camille, good days. Do you think Cade will play next game? I really don't know. We'll probably find out tomorrow. Sure, if you guys were watching the game, you saw the heat packs, you saw the ice packs on his lower back. It just reminded me of that game last year against Charlotte when he fell and then he had to miss a couple of games. But the injury report should come out tomorrow afternoon, and we'll get a better indication of when Cade can play, or if he's going to be questionable, or if he's going to miss a game against the Bulls. Do we know if some of the guys that are out will be back next game? JB Bickerstaff did say that Tobias is day to day with a high ankle sprain. I don't really know when to expect him back. Those type of injuries could take a couple weeks to come back. Stu has a left ankle sprain. Asar has an ankle sprain. Jaden Ivey is set to get reevaluated sometime this week, so we'll get an update there on how his rehab is going. Marcus Sasser had a setback. He's going to be reevaluated in 4 weeks. It's tough, man. You got a lot of key guys that are out, and the Chicago Bulls are one of the teams that have beaten us very early on in the season. They've kind of come back to reality a little bit. They've lost a couple of games as of late, but I'm not really sure I usually do post the injury reports a day before the game. So if you want to go ahead and follow us, whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, we do put the injury reports out on there. But that's just me. Um, yeah, Rocky said, I bet my life savings that Kate is sitting out at least the next two. Yeah, I mean that playing as many minutes as he did tonight, 46 out of 48 minutes, that hard fall. I mean, he could have kind of just sat back in the locker room and said, "Hey, man, like I'm hurt," but he didn't. He went out there and played injured uh, in this overtime game against the Wizards, and did a really good job. I don't really know like how severe that injury is, but we have to wait and see what does happen when we do get the injury report tomorrow. Kate is the second player ever next to MJ with 40, 10, 10, and 5. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that stat line before I went on. So another stat line that Cade Cunningham shares with Michael Jordan. I guess he's the GOAT. I'm joking. I'm joking. But that is really cool that he is sharing a stat line that only Michael Jordan has ever accomplished as well. Don Jenkins in here. Sass, we're all good. Yeah, I mean, that's a conversation I did have this summer. And I like Sasser. I've always felt like they've never really put him in a position where I think he's comfortable at. I've always said Sasser's, better off ball, but yeah, Jenkins is a very interesting player. I've told you guys I want to see him as a backup point guard on this team. I think he's too good to be a two-way guy, but that's just me. I am going to wrap up this podcast. One more comment. Need Cade for that cup game versus Philly. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how Cade's doing this week and how bad that injury is that he did suffer in the fourth quarter against the Wizards tonight. But I am going to wrap this podcast up. We will see you guys later in the week. We're doing a pregame podcast with a Bulls podcaster. That'll be released on Wednesday morning, but we'll do a postgame on Wednesday as well. So you'll have a pregame podcast and a postgame podcast on Wednesday. So hopefully you guys like these pregames when I can do them with opposing podcasters or beat reporters. And we'll see you back here on Wednesday with a post-game show. But until next time, you guys, take care. Have a good night. And as always, go Pistons. Peace.